We live in an interesting time for SEGA. If you ask for my impression of the company these days, I'd tell you that SEGA is a shell of its former self. This isn't really news at this point, but there was a time where SEGA was this really ambitious game developer, pushing the boundaries for what was possible in the industry. Whether it's lock-on technology, hardware peripherals like the SEGA CD, online multiplayer, or even motion controls. They might not have always pioneered the technology, but they were brave enough to run with it before it was mainstream. Growing up, when I heard SEGA, I thought, oh, their games always have the best graphics. In the span of 2 years, we went from this to this. To this day, I'm still blown away by the sense of speed and visual fidelity in Sonic Unleashed, and it still holds up over 15 years later. SEGA's CGI team was always top-notch. Anytime there was a pre-rendered cutscene, it just looked awesome. As we all know, SEGA has long since retired from the console race, and their output as a developer has waned over the years. I no longer think of SEGA as a AAA studio, mostly because they've gotten into the habit of recycling content. If you take a look at the past couple of mainline Sonic games, it's not very difficult to notice. And this isn't exactly a bad thing, it's smart to reuse your resources like this. It allows you to save time and money, letting you focus on other aspects of your game. But it can also be a sign of weakness, that you don't have the time and money. But things look to be changing for SEGA. Between the talks of creating super games to the amount of titles they announced at the 2023 Game Awards, it seems like we're entering a sort of renaissance for the company. They're interested in taking risks again. When I first played Sonic Frontiers, I was reminded about all the personality SEGA used to have. That secret sauce that made me love Sonic the Hedgehog to begin with. It was just different and interesting. I still think about these boss fights to this day. SEGA is at their best when they get ambitious with just a touch of jankiness. All that gets me excited about the future of this company. I want to see SEGA succeed again. So then, where does Puyo Puyo fall into place? 10 years ago, if you had told me Puyo Puyo was going to be one of SEGA's consistent global releases, I would have thought you were crazy. But here we are, in the year 2024, and there's 9 Puyo games on Nintendo Switch alone. It only feels like yesterday, begging SEGA to localize Puyo Puyo Chronicle on Twitter. Yeah. If you aren't aware, up until Puyo Puyo Tetris, the West hadn't seen a localized Puyo game since 2004 with Puyo Pop Fever. Now it's like, if you haven't played Puyo at this point, what's your excuse? Because it's readily available on all platforms, even Apple Arcade! It's kind of interesting because despite all that, I feel like Puyo Puyo is a niche title. If you've played Puyo at all, it's most likely because you played Puyo Puyo Tetris, but did you play it because it's a Puyo game? Or is it because of Tetris, one of the most popular games in existence? This series has suffered from an identity crisis since the beginning. Old farts like me likely had their first exposure with Kirby's Avalanche or Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, which is simply the localized version of the original Puyo Puyo. It's a lot easier to market a known IP than it is to create a new one, but that comes at the cost of identity. Do you keep this trend going, creating brand confusion, or do you try to keep things consistent globally? The answer was to not even bother, as the series remained stagnant overseas until SEGA tried to reintroduce the brand with Puyo Pop and Puyo Pop Fever. However, it must not have proven lucrative because once again, they stopped localizing future entries, all the way up until Puyo Puyo Tetris. This created a new problem, as it's been so long since the last localized title, the brand has now become associated with Tetris. Then they decided to double down, choosing to create a sequel instead of localizing Puyo Puyo Chronicle, which was released in between. So now we're at an impasse. Puyo Puyo cannot continue riding the coattails of a more successful IP if they intend to grow the brand overseas. The fans want a standalone entry. The problem is, are we ready for that? Prior to the release of Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, SEGA also released Puyo Puyo Champions, which served as a budget entry into the series. It's a strictly competitive focused game, so there isn't a genuine single player component like a story mode. So while it catered to one crowd, the side of the fanbase that enjoys the single player content were left unsatisfied. It might sound unusual to release a game like this, but it was kinda necessary. The tournament scene for Puyo Puyo is a pretty big deal in Japan. So when your only modern option is an entry shared with an IP you don't own, you need to provide an alternative. Ultimately though, they decided to localize this game overseas, so I imagine it was used as a testbed to see if people would buy a Puyo game simply on its own merits. Whether or not it worked brings us to today. We've finally gotten a standalone Puyo Puyo game, exclusively on Apple Arcade. If you aren't aware, Apple Arcade is a subscription-based service that grants you access to a library of games specifically designed for the platform. These games are not streamed either, they're local to the device. However, just because the games are local does not mean you own this software. It's only available to you when you're actively paying for the service. It also means once a game is delisted or if Apple Arcade as a service goes down, you can no longer play that game. Now sure, there's a huge player base available on Apple devices. According to BankMyCell, there are 1.46 billion people with an active iPhone, with 143 million of those devices belonging to the United States alone. And according to Apple Insider, 10% of Americans are actively utilizing Apple Arcade. That's great! But how many of those users are going to try this game out? How many of those users are going to play for more than 5 minutes? How many users will try out other entries in the series? How many users will get discouraged because they were expecting this game to feature Tetris? Now, I'm not saying this entry won't create new Puyo fans, but was this really the best idea? I understand SEGA has a partnership with Apple to produce titles for their service, so while it makes sense to put out something battle-tested like Sonic the Hedgehog, it doesn't really make sense for Puyo. Puyo is not a draw for Apple Arcade. It is, however, a draw for Puyo fans. Which is a shame, because not all of them are going to be able to play this. I decided to take a poll on Twitter asking how many people have any means of playing this game, and out of the 222 that voted, only 27.9% have access to play this. That sucks. All of the social media posts advertising this game have the replies filled with fans upset over this being exclusive to Apple Arcade. It feels like SEGA is biting the hand that feeds them, because this is the exact sort of thing we've been asking for. We want a standalone Puyo game. We love these characters and we want to learn more about them, but decisions like this make me feel like SEGA isn't confident enough. I don't think Apple asked SEGA to produce a Puyo game. I think Apple asked SEGA to put out titles featuring their IPs, and they saw they could asset flip a Puyo game without taking any risk of failure because Apple financed the whole ordeal. Like, yeah, we got our Puyo game, but considering the barrier for entry, is SEGA gonna look at those statistics and conclude that there isn't an audience overseas? In an interview with Touch Arcade, series producer and director Mizuki Hosoyamada stated, "I really hope many people enjoy Puyo Puyo Puzzle Pop. If it becomes popular on a global level, then we might be able to bring back older titles, as well as take the series in new directions, so please support us on this exciting journey." So the future of the series hinges on this game's success. Now this could just be your standard PR talk, but it's still a scary prospect. We've come so far over the past 10 years. I'd hate for it to all go to waste, but it's so hard to recommend people purchase an Apple product and subscribe to a service just to play it. Even personally, I was not planning on playing this game. I ditched Apple for Android a long time ago, so I no longer had access to a platform this was available on. Then I saw this tweet about people using an Apple TV to play Sonic Dream Team, and I was like, wait, Apple TV is just a Roku? I can't be the only one that thought Apple TV was an actual TV, right? Anyways, this is the cheapest way to access Apple Arcade. I ended up buying the 3rd generation Apple TVs, so a little over $100, but you can buy an older secondhand Apple TV for way cheaper if you want to be more conservative. I can't promise the game will run nearly as well as it does here, but look man, I've done crazier things just to play a video game, so go ahead, call me a hypocrite, but I'm glad I did because this game is a lot of fun. Puyo Puyo Puzzle Pop is surprisingly robust. I've played a few other Apple Arcade titles prior to this, and they all felt like shovelware. I don't know, maybe I picked a bad bunch, but Puzzle Pop feels like a genuine console release. There's just as much content in this game as there are in previous entries, though I'm putting a big asterisk on that statement. I'll explain why soon enough. All of the usual suspects are here. A lesson mode to teach you the ropes of playing Puyo Puyo, though the game does start with a tutorial on how to play. It doesn't go as deep as the actual lesson mode does, so if you are new, I suggest getting your feet wet here. This isn't the greatest tutorial, like nobody builds chains like this, but it will at least teach you the basics. There's also a challenge mode which serves as the standard score attack affair. Endless Puyo, Endless Fever, and Tiny Puyo are featured here. The solo mode lets you spar against computer opponents in a variety of rule sets. The tried and true Tsu and Fever rules return along with Mission Puyo, where you're assigned missions with simple objectives like erasing a Puyo in a specific location or meeting a specific chain length. Whoever completes 4 missions first wins. Blocks, which is Tsu except the field is occupied with, well, blocks. The idea is that the uneven field makes it more difficult to build chains. Big Bang, where you solve pre-made chains to accumulate the most garbage possible. Whoever clears the most wins. Mini Puyo Excavation, where you need to clear the surrounding Puyo/garbage in hopes of reaching the star at the bottom. And Mega Puyo, where the field is shrunken to a 3x6 grid. Instead of needing to match 4 Puyo to clear, you only need to match 3. Despite the solo name, if you connect a second controller, you can play against human players locally as well. Then there's multiplayer, where you can compete against other players online in ranked or friendly rooms. Unfortunately, the ranked lobbies are basically dead on launch. The game tries to mask this by pairing you up against computer players instead of making you wait, but this is not a good indicator for the long-term health of this game. As of this recording, there's a little over 2,000 players registered online in the ranked Tsu lobby. That doesn't mean only that amount has played this game, but it does give a glimpse into the total player base, so that's not good. But don't worry guys, the future of this series depends on this game's success. Impending depression aside, the real draw of this game is the adventure mode. A fully voiced, original narrative featuring a multitude of challenges and unlockables along the way. Each character has their own episodic campaign, akin to the story mode featured in the 2 anniversary Puyo games. Now unfortunately, this is where that asterisk comes into play, as at launch there are only 9 episodes available, 4 within the main story and 5 side stories. That also means there's only 9 playable characters at launch, with a total of 24 promised. This feels a bit sleazy because if you recall, Apple Arcade is a subscription service. They want you to keep paying each month so you'll see through the full narrative of the game. Apple does offer a single month of Apple Arcade for free to new subscribers, so it may be better to wait for the rest of the stories to be released first before taking the plunge. But since I'm playing at launch, that means I can only give an assessment of what's here, and overall, it's good. I have a few problems that may get resolved in future updates, but the gist is that the game takes place in the dream world. Mina, this black cat that likes to swap between various masks to express her emotions, brought everyone into this world for her own amusement. Things only turn for the worse once everyone realizes they can't exit the dream world, which Mina did not intend. This raises some red flags, causing the group to question how Mina managed to pull this off to begin with, as her inexperience makes the group realize she's not working alone. Finding out who she's working with and how to escape becomes the main objective for the group to resolve. I'm not going to spoil who the villain is, but let's just say for fans wanting some older plot threads to be expanded upon from, say, Fever 2, you're in for a treat. It's refreshing to see these characters get some development for once. Like, my biggest gripe with the story in Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 was that they gave everyone amnesia. So all the continuity from the first game was practically wiped clean, and it was just annoying to have everything reintroduced instead of building on what was already established. Thankfully, not the case here, and it's just nice to see everyone bounce off each other like friends would. I also think it's really cool that Lemrez is part of the main story. It's not every day we get to see things through his perspective, and I'm excited to see this explored with other characters in the future. I'll admit it's not the best writing in the world. This game isn't nearly as funny as Tetris 1 or 2, but it does feel natural, and it's always a delight to hear the voice actors stretch their legs.
It is I, the magnificent Dark Prince.
Each story features 8 chapters, with several side missions along the way. These all feature different challenges, like defeating your opponent under a certain amount of time or reaching a specific score. Depending on how well you do, you'll earn a rating out of 3 stars, with that rating being tied to certain unlockables. Returning to this entry is support items, which was last seen in Fever 2. These items can give yourself the edge in battle, such as preventing your opponent from being able to rotate their Puyo, to generating a chain at the start of the match, or even changing the amount of colored Puyo that's available. Like normally, Puyo is played with 4 colors, but if you wanted to, you could play with 3 colors to make things easier, or even 5 colors, which naturally makes things more challenging. You can equip up to 3 items at once, with some items being further enhanced by stacking multiples. So in a way, the difficulty of a match can be adjusted at your leisure. But why would you want to make things more difficult? Well, by doing this, you get the benefit of earning more points that you can spend in the returning shop. The shop lets you unlock various character icons, backgrounds, Puyo skins, music tracks, alternative character voices, greeting stamps for online, and other aspects of your Puyo card. Your Puyo card is a customizable banner where you can show off your sense of style, including your title. There's never been so much stuff to unlock, and just when you think you've finished a campaign, you're presented with EX missions to clear, which are far more difficult than the previous missions. Then, once you clear all the EX missions, there's an additional gold Puyo Mark challenge tacked onto all the previous missions. Completing the main story is also how you unlock side story keys, which are used to access the other campaigns. This also means you have to unlock each campaign before you're able to play as that character in the other modes. There's also these Nazo Puyo styled missions where you need to solve a puzzle provided by Mina. These types of challenges provide you with a limited amount of pieces and a specific goal, like popping 9 Puyo at once, so you have to think carefully about the placement of each piece. There's another currency you'll be earning passively as well, Puyo Miles, which basically act as a stretch goal reward for the game. There's also daily and weekly missions for you to complete, which typically provide you with points or support items for the adventure mode. So yeah, there's plenty here to keep you busy. It just falls a little short in the variety. So in the solo mode, there's all these different rule sets available to you, right? But within the adventure mode, the only rule set that's utilized is Su, which causes a lot of the missions to feel repetitive. Now to be fair, some of the missions spice it up by giving the opponent certain items to up the ante. Like opening dump, which is how you start the new day after eating Taco Bell the night before. This causes the board to fill with 2 rows of garbage Puyo at the start. Or garbage eraser, which causes all the incoming garbage to just go away before you lose, which is just as busted as it sounds. So while these items do add some variety, I would have loved to see the other rule sets be utilized. Maybe future stories will take advantage of this, but what's currently available does not. Aesthetically, I love how this game looks. This UI is way too good for a mobile title. It's so refreshing for the menus to get a new coat of paint. They've been basically unchanged since Puyo Puyo Tetris, but the standout characteristic is the 3D models. This is the second time a Puyo game has opted for this visual style, with the first being Puyo Puyo Chronicle. No, your eyes don't deceive you, these are the same models and animations with a few tweaks, like the textures and the size of the hands. Remember my tangent about SEGA recycling their content? Not even Puyo Puyo is safe, but in all fairness, I don't mind. Yeah, I would have loved to see the cast in some new outfits and dishing out some new spell animations, but given this is a mobile game, it makes sense to play it safe. They did, however, create a bunch of new animated backgrounds, and a lot of them feed into the whole "this is a dream" aesthetic. There's also a photo mode where you can set up scenes utilizing the character roster, even down to what kind of pose or expression they're doing. This is a fun extra that I'm sure some fans will get a kick out of. Something I thought was interesting is that SEGA decided to make the Puyo Puyo logo consistent internationally. So they're definitely taking steps to make this series one of their signature global titles. I just wish it were under different circumstances, because this game was made with a surprising amount of love. I haven't even scratched the surface on the amount of customization options introduced in this game, like how you can now change the voice pattern to count up like Puyo Puyo Champions. Or how you can change which side your board is, which is useful for practicing tournament play. In the theater, there's comprehensive character bios to familiarize you on what everyone is about. Things like what universe they originate from, what relationships they have, and other things of that nature. It's really cool to see, like now we have a name for the world Arl originates from, the world of sorcery. It also tells you which game each character appeared in, which is amusing because by proxy of listing Puyo Puyo Tetris, they also have to dedicate an entire page just to the copyright information for Tetris itself. Even Mina, who is brand new to this entry, has this page. We truly can never escape. The various items you can equip to your Puyo card have their own flavor text as well. It's fascinating that of all games to further develop the Puyo lore in the West, it ended up being a mobile game exclusive to Apple Arcade. If you have any means of playing Puzzle Pop, I do think it's worth giving it a shot. Part of me hopes this is merely the foundation for an even larger Puyo Puyo game. Like this is the mobile companion title a la Samba de Amigo Party to Go or Sonic Racing, two of Sega's other Apple Arcade titles. This is the year of Puyo. In Japanese, the number 24 can be read phonetically as Fuyo, and Japan loves their wordplay, so this is considered a special year for the series. February 2nd, 2024 was even considered Puyo Puyo Day, a once-in-a-thousand-year occurrence. So it would be an absolute shame if only a small percentage of the fan base is able to celebrate. The year is still young, I suppose, so here's hoping that this is only the beginning. Just kidding, not done yet. During the making of this video, SEGA announced the next update for Puzzle Pop, which will be available on April 25th. So I just wanted to put it out there that they intend to add more than just additional characters and stories into the game. The next update will bring a new mode, translated here as Challenge Dungeon, along with some new rule sets, so perhaps a second look at this game is warranted once all the updates are released. Let me know if you would like to see that. But that's it for now, so thanks for watching. I made a video this year, so now I don't have to make any more. Joking aside, I'm really grateful for everyone's support. Ratatan really gave this channel some momentum, so I've been itching to get back at the helm, and Puyo Puyo was just the motivation I needed.
I'm leaving.